Hey there, fellow cultists. This is DM Nell, and I'm back with another episode of Shadow the Demon Lord Talk. And this is episode number 83, and today I'm going to be talking about something I've been holding off talking about for quite a while now, but I figured if I don't do it now, I'll probably never get to it, so excuse me. I'll go ahead and do it, and I may do a follow-up to it if I decide to to expand on what I start today, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So this product is called BLACKSTAR, and this is a book that was kickstarted a few years back, and it is, of course, for Shadow the Demon Lord, officially licensed for Shadow the Demon Lord, but it was not produced by Schwalb Entertainment, nor is it on the Disciples of the Demon Lord. This is actually a company in Italy, I believe it was Italy, that had basically licensed this the Shadow of the Demon Lord game, if I can get my thoughts to manifest his words. The Kickstarter was supported by Robert Schwalb, of course, but I don't think he was directly involved in it. He may have been a consultant or something like that, but for the most part, this is a product by a company called BLACKSTAR, and it's an Italian company, again, I think. And the authors of this particular product, I'm probably going to butcher these, but Elisabetta Albini, Fabio Passamonti, Robert Schwalb, who did contribute to the product, and Massimo Cranchi. Now, how much Robert Schwalb's contribution was to the product, I'm not really sure. It says here, lists him as an editor, and it lists him as an author. But, again, I'm not exactly sure how much influence he had on the product overall. Some other contributing authors have some familiar names. You see Bruce Cordell here. Editing, some of these folks look familiar, at least Jennifer Clark Wilkes does. And, of course, some of the artists definitely look familiar. But as you can see, there's quite a few people that worked on this product, and yet it's not a Schwalb Entertainment product. It is a BLACKSTAR Games and Here Be Dragon Games product. So what you have in this product is quite a bit, actually. The first section, which is the page 5 through page 14, is a summary of some of the rules that we get at it from the core rule book, Shadow the Demon Lord core rule book, and also some rules that may have been in some supplements. But the nice thing about it is that it combines all of these rules into one place in this book, in the first section, which is really nice. Plus, it adds new game rules as well, which I really like. And we'll get to that here when we start reviewing that section. Then Chapter 1 talks about what they refer to as abominai. And abominai are a type of creature, basically, that's essentially associated with the Horde of the BLACKSTAR. And we will talk about that when we get to that chapter. Then, of course, you wouldn't be a Shadow of the Demon Lord game without undead. So you have two chapters dealing with undead. Chapter 2 is called Undead, and it deals more with physical undead, whereas Chapter 3 deals with undead spirits. So let's kind of talk about each one of these. I'm going to do a high level here because, well, I'll explain as we go, basically. This first section here is the rule summary. So it kind of talks about, well, each section basically has some an introduction that is kind of fictional narrative that's done in first person, and then it has some descriptions of what the section entails. And so this first section has a lot of the same rules that you will find in the core rulebook. So basic information, creature difficulty, creature name, size, traits. And for traits, it's got the aberrant trait. When a creature is hit by an attack, the attacker suffers 1 bane to the damage inflicted, minimum 1. If the attack roll is 20 or more and exceeds the target number by at least 5, the attack ignores the bane to damage. So this is kind of one of the issues I have with this product. There are some things written into this product that doesn't make a lot of sense based off of what I know of the rules in Shadow of the Demon Lord. So this particular trait kind of highlights one of those little discrepancies that I'm not really too familiar with. So it talks about when a creature is hit by an attack, the attacker suffers 1 bane to the damage inflicted, minimum 1. So here's the problem I have with this. Boons and banes, according to the core rules, are applied to attack rolls or challenge rolls. They are not generally, and as far as I know, they're not at all applied to damage rolls. But this clearly starts a precedent by applying banes to damage rolls, which I don't know if I like that or not. I mean, I don't know. I really kind of have to process that, wrap my head around that concept. But at any rate, that's what's happening here. Brutal, when the creature attacks with a natural weapon such as claws or teeth, and the total of its attack roll is 20 or higher and exceeds the target number by at least 5, the attack deals an extra d6 damage. So that's nice. You can apply the brutal trait to something and it basically just does a d6 extra damage when it meets those qualifications. Ferocious, when a creature would become incapacitated, roll a d6 on a 5 or 6. The creature instead heals 10 damage. So yeah, that's interesting. Horrifying is pretty much the same as the core rulebook, so it's frightening, and horrifying, same. Then you get to the descriptors, and this basically just tells you about each type of creature. An aquatic creature has a swimmer trait. Clockworks basically just talks about them being a creature or an object. What they are immune to, essentially, they can't be affected by deprivation or exposure. Ignores any effect that would age it. While incapacitated, the clockwork is an object, but still subject to the rules for incapacitated creatures. So basically, it goes through all the different descriptors in here. I don't think there's any new descriptors. Let's see. I'm not sure if spirit is a descriptor from the core rulebook. Let me take a quick gander and see if it is. All right, so yeah, spirit is. So yeah, from the looks of it, the descriptor section is basically the same as it is in the core rulebook. Characteristics and attributes. Special senses, those are all pretty familiar. Defense talks about that. Health talks about that. Attributes. Speed. It calls out climber, flyer, and swimmer. Again, none of this is really new. Then we get to insanity and corruption. Attack options, reach, range, and natural weapon. Attack talents. And then special attacks. Specifically calls out multiple attacks. Many creatures make 2 or more attacks using a single attack action. For example, a creature with double attack can use 1 action to make 2 attack rolls. Unless otherwise noted, these attacks can be against the same target or different ones. So there's actually, in the core rules and the various supplements that have come out, there's different types of multiple attacks. Some creatures have banes when they attack multiple things, others don't. So it really just kind of depends, I guess, on what you want for the monster that you're running. But at any rate, this is just calling out that some creatures can make multiple attacks with one action. Okay, special actions. It talks about magic and the end of the round. All right, so most of that is familiar stuff. Then we go into customizing creature. This is where some interesting things have been added to the game. Size is pretty much the same. Frightening or horrifying is the same. Scary is new. So scary, and I think this yellow highlight means that it's new, where all the other stuff that is normal font comes from the core rules. So I guess aberrant. Is aberrant in the core rules? That's interesting, because if it is, I have never noticed it. So this is, aberrant is traits. Now, I don't think there's a trait section in the core rulebook. No. So I think the trait section here basically either comes from a supplement, like I know the Monstrous Main of Monstrous Main, I think is the supplement, has some traits in it. Like I think Brutal comes from that. I don't recall Aberrant being in there though. But okay, anyway, it's neither here nor there. Coming back down, so Scary's highlighted, so I think that means that it's new. So Scary basically is a trait that you would add, or a way to customize, not a trait, a way that you would customize your monster. I guess it could be called a trait. I'm not really sure the differentiation between a trait and just a thing that you add to a monster to make it different. But anyway, Scary is, it works like the horrifying trait, with the difference that after a creature has made the will challenge roll, whether it's successful or not, they continue to be affected by the creature's trait every time it is encountered again until they complete a rest. So that's nice. If you want to, if you have a whole dungeon full of something that's horrifying, and somebody makes a save against a horrifying, they're no longer afraid of it until they make a rest. But if you add Scary on top of horrifying, then they continue to be affected by the horrifying trait. So it also has associated with a scary creature special attack, a rising horror. Once per round, the scary creature can use a triggered action on its turn to make a will attack roll against the will of a target creature within medium range. In case of success, the creature gains 1 to insanity, or 1d3 to insanity if they are already frightened or if they are already frightened or suffer other mental afflictions, or are suffering other mental afflictions. So this is the other thing that I'd like to call out about this product, is that the editing's not great, or rather, I wouldn't say the editing, I would say that the translation is not great. I think that this product was written in Italian and then translated to English, and you can kind of pick up on some weird sentence structure and some weird phraseology that's used throughout this product that sounds like it came about as a result of a translation from another language. It's not that distracting, but it can be a little distracting. You can generally figure out what they're talking about, though. Okay, so characteristics and attributions, or attributes. So characteristics, perception, senses, defense, health, and speed. That's all from the core rulebook. Attributes, looks like that's all from the core rulebook. Attack options, you've got infectious. An infectious creature carries some sort of contagion, such as a disease, which is outlined there. Pack fighting, poisonous, and I think a lot of these come from the back of the bestiary. Let me see here, of the core rulebook, I'm saying. Yeah, so page 263 of the core rulebook has infectious, pack fighting, and poisonous. So that's all from the core rulebook. Special options, you've got bloated, brittle, gigantic, So a bloated creature has horrid stench, which is an end of round effect. A brittle creature has half the creature's health score and splinters when it is damaged. Gigantic, most unliving stand twice as tall as humans do, but sometimes they could grow to even greater. Gigantic unliving are tougher and more aggressive than their kin. So this is how you can apply that template to an undead. Infested has a cloud of flies. Maddening gaze. Void touched. So these are just different things that you can add to customize different types of creatures, such as undead. Magic. And so this goes by the system provided in the core rulebook. Spells by rank, difficulty, and you got a nice little handy dandy chart there. And I believe this is a casting chart. Or not. You can grant the ability to cast spells to any creature that cannot already do so. The creature gains power rating of 0 to 5 and a number of spells from one tradition, depending on its difficulty, as shown in the following table. To make more powerful spellcasts, you can instead add the Magician or Priest template. Okay, so this tells you if you have a difficulty 10 creature and it has a power of 0, then it gets 1. No, sorry. Okay, so difficulty 5 or less, power 0, it gets 1 spell. 10 or less, or 10, difficulty 10, power 1 has 1 rank 0, 1 rank 1 spell. Difficulty 25 has 2, power of 2, and so forth. So basically, if you're creating a monster, if it is a difficulty 50 and you want it to be a spellcaster, then by default it has a power of 3 and it can cast this number of spells. I guess that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that you would necessarily want a spellcasting creature of difficulty 50 to be able to cast that many spells. But then again, you can always just apply the Magician template just like it says above. Okay, so have some other things in here that are pulled from the core rulebook. So let's get to some of the stuff that is new. So let me just go ahead and scroll on down. Auras and influence. This whole section is new, and I dig it because this kind of is reminiscent of 4th edition D&D, and I know there's a lot of bad. 4th edition has a bad rap. Some of it is deserved. But there was some cool stuff that was introduced in 4th edition. One of the things that was used in monster design of 4th edition was auras. Auras was a way to have an ongoing or triggered effect that surrounded a monster to a certain degree that would have, that could have an impact on the creatures that entered the aura. So just by the fact that you are engaging in combat and going up to the creature and entering their aura, you could be taking damage or you could be affected in some other way by that aura, which I love, which is basically just it's a passive defense and potentially a passive offense for the creature that you don't have to worry about unless somebody goes into the aura, in which case, boom, that triggers that effect on the attacker. So if you want to make a creature tougher, you can add an aura to it, and that'll do the trick. So then we go into the different types of auras. You've got embodied, which is actually a template. Herald of the Shadow is another template. So the first part of this, I guess, is templates that you can add to a monster. So embodied, Herald of the Shadow, Emissary of the Shadow, and Incarnation of the Shadow. Those are all templates that you could add to a creature. thus making it different than the base creature, and potentially more difficult. In fact, most of these have a difficulty step adjustment for the monster if you add the template. Then you get to the aura. So the auras come in 3 different categories: weak, moderate, and strong. A weak aura has a radius basically of 6 to 12 yards around the creature. A moderate aura has a range of 18 yards around the creature, and a strong aura has a range of a radius of 24 yards. And again, here's another editing flaw. Shadow of the Demon Lord uses yards, but clearly in Europe they use meters. Basically the same, but not consistently applied. I know that's nitpicking, but still, it can bother some people. All right, so the weak, moderate, or strong also determine the challenge rolls that you need to resist the effect of the aura. The effect for a weak aura: creatures in the aura usually make a challenge roll to avoid the aura's effect. Moderate aura: creatures in the area usually make challenge rolls with 1 bane. And strong aura: creatures in the area usually make challenge rolls with 2 banes. And then it goes into different types of aura. So you have an attraction aura, you have a burning aura, you have chaos aura, you have a despair aura, draining, freezing, hallucinatory, imprisonment, poisonous mist, spectral, tragedy. So all of these are real interesting ways of, again, adding that extra defensive / offensive quality to your monsters to make them that much more that much tougher. All right, so and then it goes into influence again. Demon Lord can also grant its servants an influence on the territory that they live in. So this is actually, let me go back up here. So this talks about the aura itself, having a weak aura, moderate aura, and strong aura. The influence talks about the monsters having an influence over an area that the monster is typically found in or associated with. So a weak influence: at this level of influence, a territory acquires an atmosphere that seems to change it slightly. Only some minor details reveal the differences between past and present. Normally these are aggressive attitudes on the parts of those who live in the territory, sickly appearance of plants and animals, a little brightness, or something similar. So if a monster has a weak influence, then that means that in where its den is located, or if it's an object or a relic or something like that, can also have an influence. Moderate influence: the territory undergoes major alterations. The alterations configured as a dangerous and insidious and could create dangers and traps. And then a strong influence basically warps it to be unrecognizable. Could generate offspring from the void. This might be something that triggers what's it called? Void. From Hunger in the Void. You know what I'm talking about. Void. Brain. Don't fail me now. Void larvae. Void tar. That's not what I'm looking for. Void. Intrusions. All right, it's not the word I'm looking for, but you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, just read the first section of the a void stain. Thank you, frickin' void stain. But anyway, something that has a strong influence could result in a void stain occurring. All right, so what else we got here? That's the first section of the book. So the next section, chapter 1, Abominii and Incubi. So this chapter deals primarily with creatures that are associated with the Horde of the BLACKSTAR, or the universe that the BLACKSTAR was found in. All right, so basically this whole first section is a narrative, first-person narrative, talking about this wizard or arcanist whose mother had discovered the existence of these creatures, which is an interesting little narrative. But then the Horde of the BLACKSTAR actually goes into how these creatures found their way to Earth. And it talks about how the Red Wizard of the Tower Arcane had created a magical device to view other universes, and it found a universe that had these creatures. And these creatures burst their way through the portal and killed off a bunch of the wizards before the White Wizard managed to shut down the portal and destroy the machine that punched a hole into it, thus cutting off these monsters. But basically, the monsters discovered that this world now exists, and so they have now become a threat to us, or a threat to Earth. U-R-T-H, not E-A-R-T-H. Anyway, so what is the Horde of the BLACKSTAR? Well, basically, it is a universe that was invaded before the genies were able to construct the wall that separated the void and the universes they were creating. It was a universe that was invaded by demons and basically destroyed. And the things that were in that universe were sucked into the void. Some of those things survived and mutated into the Horde. And these mutants basically have found their way, have the ability to find go into a universe and essentially eat everything that they encounter. But they also like to recreate themselves or procreate. So not only do they eat everything, but they spawn more of themselves in these universes and create a larger horde in the process, which is a pretty cool idea. It's kind of like if you're into Warhammer 40K, it's kind of like, I would say it's a similar concept to Tyranids. But at any rate, these are this is a category of monster, and this whole section basically talks about the various different types of these monsters, and the different ways that these monsters recreate or procreate. So I'm not going to go through each one of these. There are some that are pretty cool, some of them that are excuse me. But if you're looking for monsters or new monsters, or even an entire category of monsters that could spawn a campaign in and of themselves, that's what this whole section is. And there's plenty of monsters here to really get the ball rolling and perpetuate it through an entire campaign. If you wanted to do an invasion, Shadow the Demon Lord Shadow event of invasion, this chapter right here gives you plenty of fuel for that type of shadow. So that's the first section, or the first chapter. The next chapter is Undead. And I may have already missed the start of it. I think I did. Maybe. And another thing about the layout of this book, it's not real easy to tell when you're in a new chapter, because the layout is very similar throughout, but I'm also kind of a moron, so maybe it's just me. All right, so here we go. I believe this is, no, that's just a full page art. Most the chapters are broken up by full page art normally, so here we go. Just like it looks like 2 pages. All right, so chapter 2 is Undead, and this goes into physical undead creatures. And there's, again, Not that we need more undead in Shadow of the Demon Lord, but we need more undead in anything. So this gives you more undead. Each one of these undead come about in a specific way. So it's got some flavor text to help you incorporate them into your game. This is kind of cool, Unborn Dragon. But you know, there's all different types of undead in here. Decapitated head, that's pretty cool. So that's chapter 2, and then chapter 3 is undead spirits. I'm not really sure why they separate the two, but they do. And I guess they can be pretty different from each other, but anyway, spirits, chapter 3. And it talks about, against the types of disembodied spirits and spirits that can possess physical creatures, that sort of thing. So again, lots and lots of spiritual undead in this product. All right, so that's pretty much it at a super high level. Now, I could go into each one of these things if I had the inclination to do so, but I don't, simply because there's a lot here. This is a pretty big book. And so I want to spend the rest of the time here basically just talking about what I liked about the book and should you get it. What I really liked about the book is that my name is in it, because that was one of the Kickstarters. That's me. Anyway, yeah. So this book I've had for a few years now, 2 or 3 years, and I've yet to use it much in a game. I did put one of the creatures in this book into one of my games in my last campaign. Unfortunately, the player characters never encountered it, so I didn't actually get to use it. It was one of my planned encounters, but they circumvented it. So I didn't actually get to use the creature, but I did incorporate it into my plans. It just didn't happen. So I have to say that I haven't actually run any of the creatures in this book. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done a video on this book yet. But just reading through the book, there's lots of good ideas here. And I'm all about give me interesting ideas and I can take what I like and discard what I don't. So from that perspective, you know, I am all about this type of product. I will eat this up. Now, what I don't know is how well balanced this is. And I'm not super interested or concerned about balance in Shadow of the Demon Lord. If it's not super balanced, you know, whatever. If it ends up in a TPK, so be it. I'm not super worried about that sort of thing. I'm usually more worried that a difficulty is too high than it is too low. So, or the other way around. So, so at any rate, what I liked about this book is that it does incorporate new rules. Like I said, I dig the aura section. It has lots of new monsters for you to read, take what you like, and throw it into your games. So from that perspective, I like this product. I do have some issues with it. It's not the easiest thing to read. Like I said, I have the feeling that this was a translated product, and it is really hard for me to get into the descriptions, into the narrative, and it's just not an easy read for me. And I don't know if it's just for, you know, if it's just me, but it's not an easy read. A lot of the monsters may be interesting in their stat blocks, but their names don't really jump out at me. So, you know, if you tell me what a mummy is, I know what a mummy is. I don't have to, you know, read 2 pages worth of background and flavor text to figure out what a mummy is. I see a mummy in a book. I know what it is. I know where to put it in my game. Just about every monster in this book has such a detailed backstory that you really have to read through that to figure out where does this even, what kind of game does this even fit in? You know, is this a random encounter that you'd find in a dungeon, or is this something that actually the dungeon was built around and, you know, it has a very specific purpose in the dungeon? You know, it's just it's a lot of information to take in to figure out how to incorporate it into your game. Not that that is necessarily a problem. If you are into just casual reading of RPG books, then you probably have the time to do that. I don't have the time to do that. I like quick and easy drag and drop monsters. So, you know, pretty much every monster from the core rulebook has maybe a paragraph describing what the monster is, and that's enough to tell me how I can use it in my game. But, you know, 3 or 4, even a whole page of description and background for monsters is what you will typically find for each monster in this book. And so it makes it a little less easy to just quickly skim when you're putting an adventure together, to quickly skim it and figure out where this goes in or how you can use it in your game. Now, of course, you can ignore all that stuff and just grab the stat block and throw it into your game. And there's nothing wrong with that either, but then you really don't get the, you know, the whole reason why the monster was built in this book. You don't get the backdrop, and you may be missing some opportunities to use some of its abilities in a way that the description describes. In the description, okay, I can't talk today. So anyway, you get what I'm saying, I hope. All right, so those are maybe considered nitpicky things, but you know, there's a reason why I haven't used this book, and I've had it for 3 years. It's just not easy for me to drag and drop monsters into my campaigns, and there's plenty of other monsters from other supplements that are easy to drag and drop into my campaign. So should you buy it? I would say, yeah, it's worth it. I mean, it's in Drive-Thru-RPG. It's not in the Schwab Entertainment section, though. This is not a Disciples of the Demon Lord product. You actually have to search Drive-Thru-RPG for BLACKSTAR. And when you do, you will see it listed as a separate company, as a separate product in Drive-Thru-RPG. And so it's not the easiest thing to find. You definitely have to be searching for it in order to find it. Now, there are 2 products by this company. The second product is, why don't I have it saved? All right, so the second product is a companion supplement, and it has more undead. It's all undead, basically. So if you thought you got a lot of undead in this book, you know, 2 chapters worth, there's a second supplement to complement this book that has all undead in it. So if you are into undead, if you are doing a Shadow of the Demon Lord that deals with undead, then you are definitely going to get lots of stuff out of this and its companion supplement, which I wish I had the name of, but I actually, well, let me see if I can find it real quick. Google Drive. Monstrous Pages. There we go. Okay, so the one I'm looking at here is the BLACKSTAR Death and Decay Creature Codex, and then there is the BLACKSTAR Death and Decay Grimoire. So you can see it here on my second window. It is all undead, and you have another. Oh, let's see. Well, shoot. You have another 60 some odd pages of content. And again, it's all undead. So yeah, this is I believe also in Drive-Thru RPG. Let me just double check that. All right, so go up here, type BLACKSTAR, all one word, and you get BLACKSTAR Death and Decay Creature Supplement. I don't think the second one is on Drive-Thru RPG yet, or at least it's not coming up as BLACKSTAR. Let me see if I separate the two. If anything else different comes up. And no, so that doesn't work. So yeah, I guess that second supplement, unless you were part of the Kickstarter, you probably aren't going to be able to get your hands on it. But even so, there's still plenty of in the core supplement here, the BLACKSTAR Creature Codex. There's 2 whole chapters on undead. So anyway, there you go. I'm not even sure if they have a separate website where you could potentially order this stuff. Again, BLACKSTAR is I think an Italian company, so I'm not sure. That might be something that somebody out there in internet land can find out for us. However, going back to whether I recommend this or not, I would recommend it if you just are a whore like me and eat up everything that has to do with Shadow of the Demon Lord. It's a $20 or $19.99 price point on Drive-Thru RPG for the BLACKSTAR Creature Codex. And that's for the PDF. I don't think you can get it print on demand. Maybe you can. Let me see. No, it's only available on PDF. So $19.99. I was supposed to get a physical copy of the book as part of my Kickstarter, but it hasn't materialized yet. I'm really not sure it's going to. This company has had a few problems getting this product out. It took a couple of years to get it out, and then so anyway, it's had its share of issues, and then I think it's had some printing issues and things like that. So I'm not really holding my breath on a print version, but PDF version works fine for me, so I'm happy with it. And you can get the PDF version on Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. So just beware, editing is not the best. Translation issues throughout the book. Is it still usable? Absolutely. Is it balanced? Couldn't tell you. Haven't really been able to use it myself. So if there's anybody out there that watches my videos that has actually used this product, let us know how it works for you. Is it balanced? Are the monsters challenging? How is this as an addition to your Shadow of the Demon Lord library? Let us know, and I might do a follow-up video incorporating your comments into that, as well as going over this other BLACKSTAR Death and Decay Grimlore supplement. All right, so that's pretty much all I had to share with you for today. I once again want to thank you all for watching my videos. Please like or dislike the video as appropriate. Subscribe to my video if you haven't already, so you can make sure that you don't miss any of my content that I send out. And spread the word. Do your part. This is my part. So do your part. Spread the word. Try to get more people into Shadow of the Demon Lord, so this game sticks around for a while. We have an awesome community. Lots of great people play this game. You can interact with them on the Discord channels and in Facebook. This is just a fantastic game, and I can't say enough great things about it. So, do your part, spread the word. If you go to a convention, run a Shadow of the Demon Lord game. If you have a local gaming store, show up one night and run a Shadow of the Demon Lord game. Make sure that people understand, there's adult content involved, but run a game or two, and just get people aware that this game even exists. Because I have a feeling that the further away from the initial release of this game, the more it's going to go into the background of RPG history and eventually just kind of fade away altogether. Luckily, we do have Shadow the Weird Wizard coming out here probably, hopefully in the next year or two. But even so, I mean, you know, I still dig Shadow the Demon Lord. So anyway, do your part. That's all I'm saying. All right, with that, I'm going to shut up. I'm out of here. Hail to the Demon Lord, and I will catch you on my next video. How the hell do you turn this off? Here you go.